Namaste. Welcome here. You might be wondering why there's a guy working in a garden in a video about making games. Well, this is how my life as a retired programmer looks like. Weeding the gardens in the morning and weeding the code base in the afternoon. Yeah, I've already made 2 videos about the game, but I realized that I did not really make a video about why I want to make this game. This can become a really long story, but I will try to keep it short. It starts when I made my first game. I was 13 years old and I got internet access for the first time. So, what does a 13-year-old who plays a lot of video games do when he gets access to the internet? I searched how to make a game. Yeah. And I was very, very determined. I found out that there is an engine called Game Maker, and I instantly downloaded it. And I remember there was a very elaborate documentation about how to make a platformer. And I went through this entire documentation and made my own Super Mario-like platformer game. And I was hooked. This is what I wanted to do. In that moment, I felt like, okay, this is what I want to be. This is the best thing ever, actually. Yeah, back then I did not really know what programming is. And it was through, yeah, after making this 2D platformer game, I wanted to make something 3D. And soon things started to go outside of my understanding because I learned how to do like drag and drop with the documentation, but there was no like programming lessons there. And I remember this 3D approach that this engine was using was it was like a 2D game with a 2D map, and it was just rendered in 3D. I'm not sure if Doom originally did it like this, but I think it was similar to what Doom was doing. So from top-down view, it would look like a maze where character is like going around. Not a maze. A maze would suggest that there's one entry and one exit, but like a map. And wherever there was like the walls of a room of the maze, there the engine would render vertical walls. Something like this. So yeah, when I was 13, I did not really understand what's going on, really. But I knew what I needed to learn. And I focused my high school time learning a lot of programming and physics and maths. And I was so determined to study computer science because, yeah, I want to make games for the rest of my life. So I got myself enrolled in a university to study engineering, computer science engineering. I think after 1 year or 1.5 year, I realized that, okay, like this university is not going to teach me how to make games. It seemed to me that no one was really interested or passionate about programming. Everyone just wanted to do assignments and get good grades and hope for a good job, maybe as a web developer. But I did not want to be a web developer, you know. So I did what anyone else in my place would do. I started learning on my own. I already had foundations of programming, and then I downloaded Unity and started exploring that. After doing some tutorials, I made this puzzle game where there's like a family and you have to like cross a bridge, and the bridge has like a strength that would last. The bridge actually has a strength which depends on how much time you walk over it. So there's like a, for example, there's only like 30 seconds worth of walking that you can do on the bridge. So yeah, this was my first 3D game, and I think it took me around like a week to put all of this together. I don't really remember exactly, but it was not like a long time. Yeah, after working on this small game, I had the confidence of like making something real, like a full self-contained project. And I was very fascinated by Flappy Bird because it was so simple and it made a lot of money. And that's what I did not have as a university student, money. So I thought, of course, I should think about money first and then the game itself. So the concept I figured out. It had to be a paper airplane that is like floating in the air, and it's of course naturally like it floats like this. And then there will be like hoops going, and you have to maneuver your plane. Yeah, such a unique idea. I know. So I started this project and it was going well, but there came a point when I wasn't really so motivated to do it. Like, there were so many different things, I could play some video games. I had to go to university. And then, like, my priorities were not really set in that time. And then something happened. Now, what happened? I almost died. Yeah, I almost died. Well, it's a long story. I will not go too much into it. Like videos like this can easily go out of scope. There's no script. I'm just talking what I feel. So there's a river in India. It's called Ganga. And me and some of my friends planned a day on the river beach. And one of my friends in the group had too much to drink and he did not know how to swim. And this river is quite deep. It's like in some places it can go up to like 100 feet. I don't know what it is in meters, like more than 30 meters, something like this. You know how a beach slopes into the ocean? So it is similar, but there's no ocean, there's a river. It still slopes a bit, and then after a point, it's like a steep, there's nothing, you know? It's like you are walking on it, and then there's nothing. So this guy who does not know how to swim, and he has had a little bit too much to drink, he went running and then went into the water. Yeah. And then at one point he's like, "Oh, I'm drowning." And all of us thought he's joking. But at one point started to, like, the river started to take him. And then it was like, "Oh, fuck, okay. He's actually, he's actually drowning, kind of." So no one really know how to swim except me and one other guy. And that guy first tried to go. He couldn't do it. The person who was drowning went a bit more downstream. And everyone else looked at me. And I did not really think about anything, and I just ran straight into the water. Yeah, I wanted to keep it short, but it has already been, yeah, it's already going a bit deeper. Anyways, so as soon as I reach this guy, he grabs me and he's panicking. Of course, that's natural. I did not know that you should not save people who are drowning like that, like going to them. Later, I realized that, yeah, there are different techniques to save people who are drowning. But yeah, that moment was a struggle. There was no ground beneath my feet. I was not breathing. I was like, he wanted to come up of the water and he was pushing me down and trying himself to come up. And I'm like looking at the surface of the water and the sun is shining and it has already been, I don't know, like half a minute, 1 minute. Luckily, my body did not start breathing yet. But yeah, at this point, I have no idea how long it has been, and I'm looking at the surface of the water and I'm thinking, oh, this is it. I'm going to die. Yeah. And kind of like my whole life flashed in front of my eyes. Not in a dramatic way, but yeah, like everyone I knew or everyone who was waiting for me at home, like their faces came and went one by one. And then, yeah, it was an experience. After this, I realized I can save myself if I just get rid of this guy. So I went to save this guy, and then at one point I start to like kick and punch him because now it's about my life and I don't want to die today. So I did what I had to do. I kicked and punched him, and I was able to let go of him. I was able to, yeah, push him away. And I came to the shore and I lied on the rock. And then I'm looking back. And then now this person is not really conscious anymore. He's just like floating with the river. And I could see his back like this. So it's like an unconscious body floating with the river. And people are looking at me. They're like, he's drowning. And I'm like, yeah, I cannot do anything. I'm sorry. But anyways, someone else went in and it was easier to drag his unconscious body outside the water. And we revived him. He did not die. Luckily. This could have gone like very, very wrong, but it did not. And we both were, yeah, the river spared our life that day. She did not want to take us. But yes, couple of days after that, I was in deep trauma. And the natural coping mechanism triggered me to work on my Flappy Bird inspired game because who knows, I can die tomorrow. I should finish something. Yeah. So I got my shit together and I started working on it. And in about 3 months, I had a full feature game. Like it was a Play Store game and it had like in-app purchases. It had ads that would reward you. Like I will put screenshots. So yeah, it looked like this. And there were like different maps. Anyways, so this was my first full feature game. So after I published this game, I proved to myself I can finish a game and I can publish it. This was 2017, 9 years ago. And something very deep inside of me was settled that, yeah, now I have done it once, I can do it again. And I don't need to do these assignments in universities and be evaluated by teachers who themselves are not really passionate about teaching or even about the subject itself. Yeah, it's a sad state of education system, but it is what it is. And I remember I was talking to a friend and I showed him my game, and he was not really impressed. He was a gamer and he was like, "Ah, okay, you made something small. It's okay." Yeah. He did not really show any enthusiasm about it. But what I remember sharing with him was, you know, if I had enough money, I would not be doing this game development or anything. I really want to travel. I really want to explore the world and not sit in a cubicle or in a classroom. Yeah, I just want to travel. The funny thing, the universe heard that, and the universe supported my desire. And yeah, not so long after that, I happened to be very lucky to make quite some money with cryptocurrency. And it was not like six figures or anything, but for a university student, even four figures are quite quite a bit. So now I was in a position where I could pay for my tuition from my Bitcoin money, or I could just drop out and go travel. And having the experiences that I experienced already, with death and all, I was like, fuck this shit. I am out of here. I don't care about this degree. Looking back at it, I think this was one of my best decisions I ever made in life. To not conform myself to the ideas of society, to really like listen to my heart and do what I really want to do and not really give a shit about what people might think. So yeah, I let go of game development entirely and I just started traveling and traveled for a long, long time, mostly within India. But I went to a lot of different places and I saw many different new things. I also met many new people and many, many interesting people. And I did a lot of creative things actually. I was volunteering as an artist in different hostels, painting, you know, making ornaments on the walls, painting ornaments on the walls. I was also making tattoos. I mean, that's actually partly how I was funding my travels with Bitcoin money and also with making tattoos on the way. And I was not really doing like a tattoo machine. I was using hand poke technique. It's like you have a needle and you can just with your hand and ink, you can just like tick, 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 tick. Yeah. You don't need a machine to make tattoos. It takes longer, but it was more meditative and I really enjoyed it. I did not have to stress about getting a machine or anything. During this time, I kept up my hobby of like opening up Unity and trying out different things. Whenever I would get like a month free from traveling, when I would get a vacation from traveling, I would open up Unity and do a little experiment. So I never really lost my touch. And I also met my wife, I got married, I had a baby, and then, of course, Bitcoin money at one point will run out. It had to run out. So I had to take up a job as a web developer. Yeah. In college, in university, I dropped out because I did not want to be a web developer. But at one point, I was a web developer, a full stack web developer. Luckily, I have not worked more than 5 months in my life. Worked as in like had a job or working for someone else. And in those 5 months, I realized that, okay, this is not for me. I cannot work for someone else. Yeah. The productivity that I bring to the table is, it cannot be fit into a 9 to 5. Okay. I feel like I have talked about myself for enough time today. Now, let's talk about the game. First, a little recap. A couple years ago, I was living in a remote Himalayan village in the mountains of India. You know, the Himalayan mountains are like very wide. No, they start in Pakistan or maybe even Afghanistan, I don't really know. And they go through India and then through Nepal, in China, and then Bhutan. Yeah. So Himalayan mountains are huge, but this specific Himalayan village was in the mountains in India. This was my neighbor. He was a shepherd, and he would come quite often to our front yard or our backyard to graze his sheep. Yeah, I feel like calling him a shepherd is not fair entirely because he was not just a shepherd, he was so much more than that. He was an ironsmith also, he was a carpenter. He would build structures with stones. So, yeah, he was a true mountain man. So, yeah, if I ever broke my tools and the tools were made of either wood or iron, I would just go up the mountain. This is where he was living, and this was our front yard to get it fixed. And funnily, like this handle that I'm holding right now, this was made by him. Because originally this pickaxe came with a not such a good quality handle and it broke down completely very fast. You can also see there are prayer flags in the back. I've already put them in the game. Last video was actually about creating the environment, and yeah, after making the last video, I felt quite confident that I can realistically replicate the environment from my experiences there. Also, the life was not really easy, you know. It's beautiful and it's really fun to live that way, but it's a physically stressful life. As you can see, like, I had to do things like this quite often, and this is not like a small walk that I'm doing with this kind of stuff. You know, mostly like there were also like donkeys, but sometimes I like to challenge myself and I want to also be like a donkey, you know? I want to carry stuff up the mountain. So I would do things like this and yeah, walk up the mountain. So the game is going to reflect this kind of lifestyle. It's a mountain life simulation. It's very much about the mountain itself than the shepherd or the player or the character that's going to be inhabiting the mountain. There's also already a narrative that I have in mind for the game, and I don't want to share it right now. I will share it in one of my future videos. You know, I should leave some things for future content. In the last video, I showed a bit of the creative process that I went through in creating the environment and assets for this prototype version of the game. This is a prototype level. This is like still in the prototype stage. Yeah, I've just said prototype 3 times. But yes, this is a prototype. And the prayer flags that I was talking about, you can select trees when you have the prayer flag item equipped in your inventory. Right now you cannot really see it, but behind the scenes it is happening like that there is an inventory, there is an inventory system, and right now the prayer flag is the only item. I have not created more items yet, and you can equip different items and spawn prayer flags. If you notice why this shepherd is so like skating, it's because this is a prototype. Yeah. And it's best to give your characters like superhuman abilities. Makes debugging way easier. In this map, if I fell down here, there's no way actually to go back up. So the only way for me is to like give the shepherd a super jump, and then I can go up. So yeah, this is a prototype. And this is a representation of what I'm working right now. So water is going to play a very big role in the game. In India, there's one extra season, it's called monsoon, and it's the time where many landslides are happening in mountains. But landslides, thankfully, are not in the scope of this game, but water is. So this is a graph. And the visual representation right now is my custom debug manager that I created. So the green vertical lines are the places where there are nodes on the terrain. And the pink lines connecting these green points are the edges of the graph. This graph will determine how the water will flow down the mountain. For example, if we go to this area, you can see there's like a cavity in this prototype terrain that I designed in Blender. So this graph would determine, okay, when water falls here, it goes down to this. And this will create like a lake. So this graph will help in simulating realistic water, but rendering will not be realistic. Just the flow of water with gravity will be realistic. If I go into trying to implement realistic rendered water, I will never finish this game. And I already think like I am going to spend at least a couple of years before this game releases. So yeah, that was the game. This has been a long video. I was not imagining that I'm going to make such a long video. But it is what it is, and if you're still here, I am very grateful to have your attention, and I respect your time. And before going, I would like to show you a bit of the garden, what we have. This bed that I was reading just now, it has cabbage, the purple with the purple leaves that you see on the left. This is cabbage, and then there's salad, and then there's beetroot. And these are our tomato babies. We have more than 140 tomato plants. I'm not working on this garden alone. We are two people working on this garden, and it's amazing how fast plants can grow. This is only 1 month old, this garden, and we already have like small tomatoes. I also built these trellis climbing structures for cucumber plants. And we can already see little tiny cucumbers growing there. And here there's a big one. Oh, exciting, exciting. Yeah, I'm very excited for this garden, for this game, and also for this channel. If you have enjoyed this video, I would very much appreciate if you subscribe. And yeah, I don't post so often, but once a month I am posting videos. And also, I would very much like to have some feedback from you. So if you would take the time to write a comment, that would be very appreciated. That was all for this time. Thank you once again for being here.